Hey guys, I'm back with another video. The NBA has always been a stacked league in terms of talent. You've had freaks of nature and guys that were fundamentally sound causing their damage in the simplicities of the game. The eras change obviously, so pioneers like George Mikan and Bob Cousy won't be on here because of how the game was still in its infancy. But obviously those guys deserve their own respect. Now, the way I'm gonna rank these guys is by tiers. Obviously a number normal list is good, but a tier list just puts the rankings into even more perspective. Now, let's get into it. Before I get into the top 20, I'm gonna acknowledge some honorable mentions. Kawhi Leonard, in my opinion, is a criminally underrated player all time. Don't forget, the man is a 2-time champion, 2 times Finals MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a 5-time All-Star. The round mound of rebound Charles Barkley is one of the greatest power forwards of all time. He was the beast on the glass and used his brute strength and shifty footwork to dominate opponents in the post. Giannis Antetokounmpo, at the young age of 27, has already become an all-time great. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. 1-time champion, 1-time Finals MVP, 2-time regular season MVP, 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, and a 6-time All-Star. You might think it's too early, but he's accomplished more than anyone below him and impacts the game better than them. Elgin Baylor is one of the most underrated players of all time. He was an all-time great scorer, took over games like it was nothing, and led the Lakers to 8 finals appearances. And the Flash, Dwayne Wade, is probably the greatest Heat to ever lace up. His great scoring and silky smooth mid-range jumper make him a force to be reckoned with. He won Miami 3 championships with help from obviously LeBron and Chris Bosh, and was a 13-time All-Star and 8-time All-NBA player. So, with the honorable mentions away, here are the 20 greatest players of all time in my opinion. For the first tier, we have numbers 17 to 20. And to start off the first tier, we have Kevin Garnett at number 20. Garnett was one of the first hybrid big men in the league, and paved the way for guys like Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo to come. KG's prime in Minnesota was heavily underrated, and he was legitimately the best player in the whole league. His peak years were from 2001 to 2006, where he asserted his dominance as one of the greatest power forwards of all time. Defensively, Garnett was a hound, winning a Defensive Player of the Year in 2008 and making 12 all-defensive teams in his career. His resume is loaded, with him having an MVP, DPOI, All-Star Game MVP, Championship, 9 All-NBA teams, 15 All-Star selections, and 12 All-Defensive selections, and he's also top 20 in all-time scoring. He was a huge contributor to the Celtics' 2008 championship run alongside The Truth and Ray Allen. His dominant career should be respected, and that's why he's number 20 on this list. At number 19, we have Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk was one of the most revolutionary players of all time, becoming arguably the greatest shooting big of all time. He led the Dallas Mavericks to their only championship in 2011, defying all odds, beating the super team Miami Heat while winning the Finals MVP. He's also an MVP, 14-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA player, and part of the illustrious 50-40-90 club. His signature move, the one-legged fadeaway, is one of the most unstoppable moves in NBA history. Nowitzki's longevity was incredibly impressive, playing 21 seasons all with Dallas. For me, Dirk is the second greatest power forward of all time. At number 18, I have Moses Malone. Moses Malone is the most underrated player of all time for me. You need to realize this man was considered the best player in the league while Magic and Bird were entering their primes. He led the Philadelphia 76ers to the championship in 1983 alongside Dr. J and won the Finals MVP over him. He was also a 3-time MVP and is by far the all-time leader in offensive rebounds. In his best seasons, Malone averaged over 6+ offensive rebounds a game, which can really affect how many points in the paint his team can get. He was also a 12-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA player, 2-time All-Defensive player, and a 6-time rebounding leader. In his prime from 1979 to 1983, Moses was practically the best player, or at least very well in the top 3. Seriously, give this man the respect he deserves as the 18th greatest of all time. At number 17, I have Isaiah Thomas. Thomas is one of the greatest point guards, with his peak being from 1988 to 1991. He led the Pistons to be one of the best teams in the league, and won 2 titles and 1 Finals MVP in the process. His scoring and elite playmaking made him a dangerous dual threat on offense that could go any way with the offense. He made 12 All-Star games, won the All-Star Game MVP twice, made 5 All-NBA teams, and led the league in assists in 1985. He was an excellent pickpocketer, racking up almost 1,900 steals throughout his career. One thing to note is that Thomas and the Pistons got through some of the toughest teams like the Showtime Lakers, the Larry Bird-led Celtics, and Jordan's Bulls. IT was also one of the toughest and grittiest players ever, known for playing through injury and causing them to. And with Thomas closes out Tier 1. These guys were all great players who were capable of leading their team to the promised land in their primes. But Tier 2 is just one level up from Tier 1, with these guys being players that changed the league and were a bit more dominant than the guys in Tier 1. To start it off, we have Oscar Robertson at number 16. Mr. Triple-Double himself was one of the most unique players ever. He had one of the most all-round polished games of all time, racking up 181 triple-doubles in his career. In his prime from 1961 to 1965, Robertson was one of the best with guys like Wilt, Bill Russell, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. He was an MVP, 12-time All-Star, and an 11-time All-NBA player with 3 All-Star Game MVPs. He also won the 1961 Rookie of the Year and led the league in assists 6 times. Once Robertson finally got adequate help from Kareem AbdulJabbar and Tom Hydson, he got his 1971 ring with the Bucks. He was one of the leaders in assists and has almost 27,000 points in the book. For me, Oscar is the 4th greatest point guard of all time. At number 15, we have the logo himself, Jerry West. In his prime from 1964 to 1970, West was arguably the best point guard in the whole league. He and Elgin Baylor led the Lakers to multiple finals in the 60s, but the Bill Russell Celtics were just too good. In fact, he was the only Finals MVP in history to be on the losing team. Once Los Angeles acquired Wilt Chamberlain, they won a ring in 1972, with West being the leading scorer. Defensively, West was really good, and he was especially great at stealing the ball. If steals were recorded in his time, who knows how many steals he would have racked up. He made 14 All-Star games, 12 All-NBA teams, 5 All-Defensive teams, got the 1972 All-Star Game MVP, and he was a scoring champ and an assist leader. West was an incredible player, and he's my number 15. At number 14, we have Stephen Curry. Curry revolutionized the game of basketball with his incredible shooting and inspired a whole generation to come. In his prime from 2015 to 2019, heck, maybe even now still, he was undeniably the best point guard in the league. He won 2 MVPs and 3 championships with Golden State. He's the reason why Golden State is in the position that they are today and why they had a dynasty in the first place. He's currently an 8-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA player, 2-time scoring champ, steals leader, 2-time 3-point contest champion, and has made the most 3-pointers in NBA history. Now, it's hard to evaluate current players in this debate, but don't worry, he's probably only going to rise in this ranking. Who knows, Curry may become the greatest point guard of all time. At number 13, we have Dr. J, Julius Erving. Dr. J is a very overlooked player due to the fact that most of his best years were in the ABA before the merger with the NBA. In his prime from 1971 to 1976, Erving dominated the ABA by winning 2 rings, 2 playoffs MVPs, 3 MVPs, and getting 5 All-Star appearances, an All-Defensive Team, and 3 scoring titles. Keep in mind, that's just in the ABA. In the NBA, he won another MVP, another championship, 11 All-Star appearances, 2 All-Star Game MVPs, and 7 All-NBA selections. He was an all-time great finisher at the rim with his flashy dunks. In my opinion, Julius Erving is the 4th greatest small forward of all time. At number 12, we have the Slim Reaper, Kevin Durant. KD is a unicorn at 7 feet tall, being able to shoot and handle the ball like a guard. In his prime from 2016 to now, Durant's been dominating the league, bringing the mid-range back to life. His shots are unblockable, and he's good defensively as well. KD can score on all 3 levels on the court, and is one of the greatest scorers to ever live. He's won 2 championships in Golden State, and has his 2014 MVP. He's a 2-time Finals MVP, a 12-time All-Star, two-time All-Star Game MVP, 9-time All-NBA player, 2008 Rookie of the Year, part of the 50-40-90 club, and a 4-time scoring champ. His resume is still being added on to, but for now, Durant is the third greatest small forward of all time, and with KD closes out tier 2. All these guys were at least a number 2 in helping their team win at least one championship. Tier 3 enters us into the superstars that dominated the league. These guys were the spearheads of dynasties and defined their organizations. So, to start off tier 3, we have the Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal.
That was nasty.
Bryant to Shaq.
Shaquille O'Neal was arguably the most dominant player in NBA history. He was a 7'1" beast that would bully you in the paint. In his prime from 1998 to 2002, Shaq led the Lakers to win 3 championships, with him winning 3 Finals MVPs in the process. He had one of the most dominant seasons ever in 2000, almost winning unanimous MVP. Shaq was a 15-time All-Star, 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 14-time All-NBA player, the 1993 Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Defensive player, and a 2-time scoring champion. O'Neal is top 10 in all-time points, and he's top 15 in rebounds as well. He also contributed to the Heat's 06 champion run with D. Wade, giving him 4 rings in total. With all of this, Shaq makes it just outside the top 10. At number 10, we have the big fundamental Tim Duncan. In his prime from 2002 to 2007, Duncan and his Spurs were consistently a top team in the league. He won 2 MVPs and a ridiculous 5 championships over guys like Kobe, Shaq, KG, Dirk, and Steve Nash. His sound post moves and amazing leadership on the court made him a quiet killer. Duncan was also an all-time great defender, making a record 15 all-defense teams, and probably got robbed of a Defensive Player of the Year as well. He also made 15 All-NBA teams, was the 1998 Rookie of the Year, and won 3 Finals MVPs. His longevity and consistency made Duncan a perfect guy for the 2000 Spurs. Duncan's also top 10 in rebounds and top 20 in points all time. Overall, Timmy D is the greatest power forward of all time. At number 9, we have the Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon. In his prime from 1990 to 1995, Hakeem Olajuwon cemented his dominance and dominated the league. In the 2 years that Michael Jordan retired in the mid-90s, Hakeem proved he was the best and won his 2 championships with 2 Finals MVPs on the side. He also won his sole MVP in 1994, along with the championship, Finals MVP, and DPOY, making a pretty much perfect season by Hakeem. Olajuwon was one of the greatest defenders of all time, having the most blocks of all time and pitching in the most steals by a center ever. His iconic dream shake and incredible footwork make him a menace inside. He was a 12-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA player, 9-time All-Defensive player, and led the league in rebounds twice and blocks thrice. Olajuwon is also top 15 in points and rebounds, top 10 in steals, and obviously first in blocks. He's one of the more appreciated players on this list, but a lot of people still don't give him his due respect as a top 10 player of all time. And at number 8, we have the Black Mamba, Kobe Bryant. In his prime from 2003 to 2010, Kobe Bryant was arguably the best player in the league. He was an incredible scorer, being able to score effectively on any level. With his 2008 MVP and 5 championships, he played a huge part in the Lakers' dominance in the 2000s. Bryant was also a great defender in his prime, making 12 all-defensive teams. In his illustrious career, Kobe won 2 Finals MVPs, made an insane 18 All-Star games, won 4 All-Star Game MVPs, was a 15-time All-NBA player, and was a 2-time scoring champ. He's top 5 in all-time scoring and is one of the greatest scorers of all time. His Mamba mentality and his hard work made Kobe one of the best ever, specifically the second greatest shooting guard of all time. At number 7, we have the ultimate winner, Bill Russell. In his prime from 1961 to 1966, Russell was the ultimate winner of NBA history. He was a monstrous defender with his defensive statistics and impact being out of this world. He was the engine of the Celtics dynasty in the 50s and 60s, winning a record 11 championships. Now, do keep in mind there were 8 teams at the time, and his Celtics had 7 Hall of Famers, so take that total with a grain of salt. He won 5 MVPs, made 12 All-Star teams, made 11 All-NBA teams, won the 1963 All-Star Game MVP, and was a 4-time rebounding champ. Russell is second all-time in rebounds by far with over 20,000 boards all-time. His massive impact on those Celtics teams was the main reason they were as successful as they were. Even though Russell's accomplishments were insane, he wasn't a great scorer and only shot 44% from the field as a guy who lived in the paint. But still, Bill Russell is my 3rd greatest center of all time. And at number 6, we have Magic Johnson. In his prime from 1984 to 1989, Magic was the engine behind the dominant Showtime Lakers offense and was the master of the fast break. Johnson was probably the best playmaker of all time, having the highest assists per game average in NBA history and being top 10 in total assists. He's also extremely clutch, playing goddamn center and dropping 42 and 14 to win the 1980 finals in his rookie year.
I am perplexed.
That dude built different. Magic won 5 championships and 3 finals MVPs in one of the toughest eras in NBA history with Bird, Jordan, IT, Moses Malone, Dr. J, and Hakeem. He won 3 MVPs, got 12 All-Star selections, and won the All-Star Game MVP twice, got 10 All-NBA selections, led the NBA in steals twice, and led in assists 4 times. Magic was also a big point guard at 6'9", being able to grab 7 rebounds a game throughout his career. But the player above him has always been stuck with Magic since college, and he's Larry Bird. In his prime from 1984 to 1988, Bird was an absolute elite scorer and shooter. He's part of the 50-40-90 club before shooting threes was even popular and won the 3-point contest thrice. He led the Boston Celtics to 3 championships, winning 2 finals MVPs in the process. He was a 3-time consecutive MVP in his peak, constantly scoring almost 30 points a game efficiently. Bird was also extremely clutch, with one of the most famous clutch plays of all time being his iconic steal. He was an underrated defender, being able to hustle and make important pickpockets and being able to stand his own one-on-one. His playmaking was also pretty good, averaging 6 assists a game, around the same as Giannis is currently. In terms of accolades, Bird made 12 All-Star appearances, won 1 All-Star Game MVP, made 10 All-NBA teams, 3 All-Defensive teams, and won the 1980 Rookie of the Year. For me, Larry is the 2nd greatest small forward of all time and the 5th greatest player of all time. At number 4, we have Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain. In his prime from 1960 to 1967, Wilt Chamberlain was probably the craziest athlete ever. He put up video game numbers straight from the get-go. He was also an incredible rebounder, leading every player in history in rebounds per game and total rebounds. Chamberlain's scoring was off the roof, with his best season having him averaging a stupid 50 points per game. Wilt was also a great defensive player, and according to some analysts in the 60s, Wilt averaged an absurd 8.8 blocks a game. Chamberlain won 2 championships and a finals MVP in his career, pretty low considering how dominant he was in the regular season. That's what keeps Wilt from really being the greatest. His playoff performances were never close to his regular season ones. For me, Wilt's the 2nd greatest center of all time. And that's it for tier 3. As for tier 4, these players are seriously loaded and can all easily be considered as the greatest of all time. These guys have done it all, won everything, and beat all odds. And to start off tier 4 at number 3, we have the captain, Kareem AbdulJabbar. In his prime from 1971 to 1978, Kareem was a beast, easily being the best player in the league. In my eyes, Kareem basically had 2 phases of his career. One career was with the Bucks, where he was individually the best player and led them to a chip. The other was with the Lakers, where he was a dominant force, winning multiple rings with Magic by his side. Kareem's skyhook is probably the most unguardable shot in NBA history. His smooth footwork and length made him nearly impossible to guard. Kareem is also one of the most accomplished players ever, winning 6 championships, 2 finals MVPs, an all-time record 6 MVPs, making 19 All-Star games, 15 All-NBA teams, 11 All-Defensive teams, winning the 1970 Rookie of the Year, and leading the league in scoring twice, rebounding once, and blocks 4 times. Kareem is the all-time leading scorer with over 38,000 points in the book and is top 3 in rebounds and blocks as well all time. With all that said, he's outdone by just 2 players, and at number 2 is the king, LeBron James. In his prime from 2012 to 2018, LeBron James was the powerhouse of the league and became one of the most complete players ever. He's a great scorer, standing at 2nd on the all-time scoring list just behind Kareem AbdulJabbar. His playmaking for a 6'9" forward is unprecedented, having the vision and passing ability of a point guard, averaging over 7 assists per game over the course of his career. In his Miami days and somewhat in Cleveland, LeBron was a great defender, making 6 all-defensive teams and possibly being robbed of a DPOY in 2013. One of James's most impressive accomplishments is his amazing longevity. Dude has played 19 seasons and is still an MVP candidate at 37. LeBron's also one of the most accomplished players ever, with the resume of, wait for it, 4 championships, 4 finals MVPs, 4 regular season MVPs, 18 All-Star appearances, 3 All-Star game MVPs, 17 All-NBA appearances, 6 All-Defensive appearances, the 2004 Rookie of the Year, and has led the league in assists and scoring once. But yeah, Bron's career and greatness is undeniable, and he has a really good argument to be the GOAT, but there's one more. At number 1, we have Michael Jordan. In his prime from 1988 to 1993, Michael Jeffrey Jordan established himself as the greatest basketball player of all time. He's the best scorer of all time, getting a bucket at will any way he wanted. He's one of the greatest defenders of all time, being one of the only few guards in NBA history to win a Defensive Player of the Year. His leadership led the Bulls to their dynasty in the 90s. Besides, Jordan really didn't have any significant weaknesses in his whole game. MJ's mid-range jumper was cash, being the best mid-range scorer of all time. In terms of accolades, Jordan won 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, 5 MVPs, made 14 All-Star appearances, won 3 All-Star game MVPs, made 11 All-NBA appearances, won a Defensive Player of the Year, made 9 All-Defensive teams, won the 1985 Rookie of the Year, won 2 dunk contests, and led the league in steals thrice and in scoring a record 10 times. If you're still not thinking MJ is the greatest, he bulldozed through every competitor after his number 2 Scottie Pippen developed. The only time he didn't was in 1995 against Orlando, but Jordan was still pretty rusty after his retirement. His Bulls are the only team in the modern NBA to three-peat not once, but twice. LeBron's stats are great, but a lot of them are a product of his longevity. Realistically, Jordan could have played way more years, but he didn't. So for me, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. So, that's the end of my list. Put yours in the comments below, and if you like the video, hitting that subscribe button and that like button would be really appreciated. There's so many great players in NBA history, and it was just so hard to just choose 20. It'll be exciting to see how many young players are able to crack this list in the future. Giannis has top 5 potential, and guys like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic might have a shot as well. Speaking of Giannis, he's in the talks for the 2022 NBA MVP, but the competition has been insane this year with guys like Jokic and Embiid dominating. If you want to know more about this, check out this video above, and see you next time.